Anthony.
Awesome.
We did it. It's launch day.
It's here. It's
Product
ready.
of your Christmas for us.
Yeah. Anybody excited to see some demos of Omni and field agents?
All right.
All right. So Howie just led off with the introduction of Omni and field agents, our new AI capabilities as part of Airtable's AI native platform. And Jamie and I now have the privilege of walking you through a few demos of real use cases of what you can do with these incredible new capabilities. So we're going to start off with planning an event. Has anyone here ever planned a corporate event? I see a few hands, yeah, quite a few hands coming up in the audience. So if you've planned an event, you know that there are a lot of moving pieces, a lot of logistics to figure out, from crafting attendee lists to finding venues to getting all the invitations right. And we're going to walk through this demo end to end to see how Omni and field agents come together to support this use case. So first step, we're starting out with Omni. We've got a list of our event attendees as a CSV. We throw them into Omni, and it gets started actually building an app to help us manage all of the attendees who are coming to this event. And we'll see Omni here get to work with some simple instructions, building out all of the tables, the interfaces, the automations that are going to be required to power this app. And what's so awesome about this is Omni actually has all of the context about my company, my industry, the event attendees, where they're coming from. So it's not building something generic. It's building with all of that actual context in mind. Omni starts creating all of these components right in front of me. And because all of this is in Airtable, it's not only static. I can actually inspect this application even further and make changes on the fly. So if I want to point and click into the app to change the colors, to add some new fields, all of this is built on the Airtable that you know and love today. And in just a few seconds, Omni has created this fully functional app to help manage my attendees. So next, I'm going to ask Omni to add some field agents to go research all of these attendees. And we're going to use that research to generate personalized invites for everyone. So I give it a little bit more context, my event brief to make the research as relevant as possible. And you'll see the field agents start getting to work. They're going out, they're researching every attendee in our list. They're pulling in comprehensive results from web searches about each of these individuals and their companies. And the agents even cite their sources, so we can see exactly where the data is coming from. It's fully inspectable to give us the confidence of how we're going to put it to use. And now that intel is being passed into another set of field agents that are actually going to write our attendee outreach messages. So we're not sending just generic invitations. We're actually using all of the relevant details about their companies, about their individual roles, news about the organization to make a really crafted, personalized message for everyone. So that's pretty cool. But now we're going to take it to the next level. We need Omni to actually help us find a venue for this event. So again, I'm using the event brief as context. I'm asking Omni to go out and find some venues in Chicago that match our needs for this upcoming event. And it's actually smart enough to infer all of the attributes of what we might need in a venue. The size, the capacity, location, the vibes, amenities, et cetera. And it pulls all of the details of these different venue options into our application. And finally, if we actually want to visualize these and see them laid out on a map to help us maybe pick the most convenient location, we ask Omni to actually build a new custom UI on top of this data to visualize this information. So Omni actually created a map view on top of our data in Airtable. All of the information that we just researched about those venues are now easily presented on the map view. We can drill into them, click on each location in the pin, and see all of the photos and the attributes and the data that we researched about these events. So what we just saw here is how Omni spun up a fully production-ready application in just a few minutes. The field agents handled all of the research about our attendees, our venues. They crafted the outreach messages. And Omni actually built the interface that we're going to use to interact with this app, this full end-to-end workflow in just a few clicks. Over to you.
You happy to finally scratch that map view?
I know, exactly.
OK, so now that we've seen how fast Omni helps you spin up a real working app, let's take a look at what happens when you start with unstructured data in the beginning. And this is one that I've been thinking about a lot as a design leader, again, where AI comes into processes. So there's so much potential here. So a good example, and Howie showed you a little bit of this before, but I really want to break it down so you have a chance to see a lot of the steps here. Creative and marketing teams very often begin with loose ideas and pretty messy notes. And translating that into a clear direction for alignment, that's a massive time sink, and a lot of you are quite familiar with that process. So let's take Omni and agents, and they're going to help us go from that messy scratch pad to a clean jumping off point, and that's a diverse set of starter directions for a campaign. So at early kickoff sessions, I know you've all been there, a lot of time goes into that back and forth around strategy and tactics. And the problem with that is communication breaks down, and a lot of what might be in someone's head, some great idea, that's not clear to the rest of the team. So now with Airtable, we can really streamline that process down. So let's say that we're a company that's about to launch new AI-embedded glasses. So after our delightful strategy offsite, we've all had a very good time, every member of the team has their own scattered ideas. Those things are in docs, notes, napkins, what have you. Omni is going to take that and it's going to transform it into something the team can actually react to. So that's a clean brief and then different shapes of campaigns. So I drop in my offsite notes, I describe what I need, Omni gets to work. So in seconds, Omni is extracting and then structuring everything from that doc that I uploaded into a very clear campaign brief. And that's possible because Omni actually has the context of both our business and our goals. All right, so now we're going to deploy a squad of field agents, and they're going to finish out that brief, and they're going to do comprehensive research on target personas, key messages, and more. All right, so now let's get to those starter concepts. So we really, really want to cut through that team misalignment, and we want to accelerate both strategic and operational conversations amongst the team. So behind the scenes, Airtable has 20 specialized field agents, and they're working across 10 different concepts here. They're analyzing our research, they're building out details. So each agent has a focused expertise in this case, and that includes elevator pitches, visual style considerations, ad copy, even some in-store environmental ideas. So then we've got another wave of agents that's going to come in, and they're going to generate visual mocks on top. So those are going to bring those concepts to life right in front of our eyes in Airtable. OK, so what you just saw is that we got to a directional campaign portfolio in minutes instead of weeks, dare I say months sometimes. So we've turned a really energetic offsite sprawl into a far more focused and tangible conversation as a jumping off point. So now we can go in, we can take a look at each concept in greater detail, and we can understand more about how underlying tactics are playing out here. Another side of it, and many of you know this, that pressure testing is also a really critical part of a campaign. So we've got social posts, we've got a billboard in San Francisco to react to. So we've got Airtable making it so much easier for both marketers and creatives to rapidly iterate and communicate. And that's kind of the dream. So with Airtable, Omni, and field agents, you can go from really scattered notes, really great intentions, and you can get to deep and grounded directional concepts and conversations in just a few minutes. OK, so what did we see? We saw Omni taking cluttered notes and transforming it into a structured brief for the team. We saw a series of field agents kicking in to research personas and propose visual and written concepts. And then we saw another team of agents that generated broader campaign imagery and that it let us evaluate the broader system. So I'll ask you, looking at this process, what would it mean to you and your teams if you could shave 3 to 4 weeks off of early campaign planning? And with that, I'll let you mull over that question.
All right. So we just saw campaign planning. We saw how we accelerated the whole process of campaign ideation. Now we're going to go a step further and actually look at how all these images, all the visuals for our campaigns can actually be checked according to our company's brand standards and compliance standards. So let's see how field agents in Airtable can help us out with that process. So we all know marketing teams, creative teams are drowning in visual assets. You've got assets from your internal libraries, from agencies, from partners, and all of these need to be reviewed for brand compliance before they can actually launch in a campaign. We hear over and over again from our customers in the marketing space that this process is a huge bottleneck, can often take weeks or months to go through campaign compliance checks and to get those campaigns out the door. With field agents in Airtable, we can compress this entire compliance checking process literally down to about 5 minutes. So we're going to see how this works. So this is our digital asset management system in this demo. It contains all of our product imagery. You can see we've got thousands of product images flowing in here, and they're all being tagged and added with metadata by our field agents based on the contents of the images, the items, the styles, the background assets. All of that is getting tagged automatically to make it searchable in our system. But here's where it gets really interesting. So let's say we just updated our brand guidelines. We got new brand guidelines from our team. And we actually want to go through and check all of the images in our digital asset manager for compliance with these new guidelines. So all I have to do here is give Omni the new guidelines. It's now going to upload these photography rules into our brand compliance system. And you can see them populating here as we speak. And once those guidelines are updated, we're now going to feed them into our field agents who are going to go through every image in the digital asset management system and check for color, for composition, for background attributes, for how the athletes are positioned in these images. And they're going to provide this pass-fail assessment on every one of our images. So literally checking the actual content of the images against these standards. So in just a couple minutes, we've now analyzed hundreds or thousands of images automatically. We get robust checks around where they passed or failed our compliance guidelines. And we can now actually take this a step further and see for any images that failed, where specifically do they need attention, or why did they fail? So in our brand checker interface, I can drill down into these individual photos and assets and see what was the specific issue, what have the agents flagged, and why do they not meet the specific guideline. And not only that, because all of this data is in Airtable, it's connected to our entire broader workflow. So in just a couple clicks, we can create a task for our team to actually go triage and tackle any specific image that's been flagged as non-compliant. We can then make updates to that image based on the feedback that our agents have provided to us. So that's how we transform a multi-week-long bottleneck of image and compliance checking into a seamless process with Airtable. And we're really excited about this. We've heard from so many of our customers, especially in regulated industries and customers in dealing with multi-region, multinational environments, that these checks take a massive amount of time and heavy lift to produce. So we just saw Omni update the system with these new guidelines. We saw it get to work. We saw how the field agents reviewed every asset across the multi-dimensions of criteria. And they not only flagged which assets didn't comply, but also explained to us why. And this is a huge, huge unlock for creative teams, leading to faster review cycles, greater consistency, and ultimately, what really matters, faster time to market for our campaigns. Take it away.
All right. We're going to talk about one that I've definitely been a victim of. So let's tackle the challenge of taking our work to a global market. So a lot of you know that just translating text, that's not localization. That doesn't cut it. You have to adapt visuals. You need to address copy. You need to address tone to actually resonate in local markets. So that kind of adaptation, again, a lot of you have experienced this. It can take weeks of back and forth, sometimes months. So let's take a look at what happens when Airtable handles all of that in actual minutes. OK, so operating with global reach, that's table stakes for marketers today. But getting the right assets, copy, and materials to teams across 10 different regions, that's weeks or worse. And sometimes that complexity, that's so overwhelming that campaigns never actually get launched in particular regions. But now with Airtable field agents, you can localize an entire set of marketing assets for 10 different markets in under 5 minutes. So as a marketer at an athletic wear company, I want to take everything that I've been building for our Peak Flow product line, again, images, product descriptions, social copy, and I need to adapt that for a wide set of markets, and that's including Australia, Japan, and Brazil. So all I have to do is click Localize, and I have a team of Airtable field agents that are going to get to work. And again, they're not just translating. They're bringing in local market preferences and visual styles for each particular region. And you can see how they're populating for each market. So my field agents are crafting descriptions, social media copy, and Instagram stories that actually resonate with local audiences. Okay, but here's where it gets really powerful because they're also adapting the imagery itself. So these agents are understanding that effective localization is going beyond just the words. So we need that specific context, we need cultural relevance, and we need visual storytelling that's actually going to connect with our audiences. Okay, so let's look at these images the agents generated. There's a consistent aesthetic that aligns to the core creative that's already been defined, but each one is now being tailored to local context, so there's nothing generic here. Everything is particularly authentic to each market, and it's also being executed at huge scale. So each region now has its own comprehensive asset package, and it's got localized copy, it's got that adapted imagery, and it's got social content. And that's all ready for teams to deploy immediately. So again, what used to take weeks of coordination, research, back and forth, this is done in under 5 minutes with Airtable, and it's in your source of truth. I like that clap. Oh, you've also been through the localization process, you know. Okay, so let's play that back. What did we see? We saw field agents localize both text and visuals, not just translating word for word, but actually adapting tone, visual style, and social formats based on each region's context. And you end up with full, ready-to-launch asset kits for every market. So this is fast, it's authentic, and it's also deeply tailored. And that's significantly cutting back that region-by-region manual effort.
All right, so next up we're going to look at analysis and Omni's deep analysis capabilities. And this one is really near and dear to my heart as a product person. Spend a lot of time listening to our customers and digging through troves of qualitative data that are collected by our sales teams and go-to-market teams. And I think this is true of every company. Every company is sitting on mountains of data that are stuck in call transcripts or support conversations or feedback logs. But you can't really get the value of that data at scale. It's been historically impossible for anybody to review the mountains and the quantities of qualitative data that's sitting inside your company. So we're going to see how field agents and Omni together help us tackle that problem of turning this really unstructured but valuable data into real insights for our teams. So, as a PM or as a marketer, you know there's gold hiding in your sales call transcripts. But nobody has the time to listen to every single call, right? Except field agents do. So now I've deployed field agents inside this Airtable application that's connected to our actual call transcript library. So every call, every recorded call that anybody's having with a customer, with a support interaction, is coming into this library, and all of the insights that I care about as a product manager are getting extracted automatically from these call transcripts. The product feedback, specific categories or features of our product that are mentioned, and all of the customer's actual words are getting extracted into these feedback snippets. So I don't have to rely on secondhand accounts from the folks who are actually out and talking to these customers or dealing with these support interactions. I can see the actual quotes and feedback from the call getting pulled out directly by field agents as every call is processed. So that's already super cool, super useful. But there's more, because with Omni, I can actually analyze and ask questions across all of these conversations, across every recorded call, across every support interaction. So if I want to ask a really broad question, like what are our top unmet customer needs, I can put Omni to work to analyze and conduct this deep research across all of those calls. So Omni's now going to analyze every transcript. It's going to analyze all the insights that were extracted by each of those field agents to come up with an answer to a really deep and profound question like that for me. These are not just simple yes or no questions. They actually have to understand my product, my context, my business, the products and features that our customers are talking about to be able to develop a really comprehensive answer to a question like this. And again, Omni's citing the sources of individual call transcripts, individual feedback snippets, so I can drill down and see exactly where the feedback is coming from. And then on top of that, Omni can also produce custom charts, visuals, dashboards to help further our analysis. So if I say, hey, let's build a visual showing the revenue associated with each of these feature requests, each of these unmet customer needs, I simply ask Omni to create it, and we get a custom dashboard, custom interface built into this application in just a few seconds. So no coding, no custom prompting required. Omni just understands the dashboard that I'm looking for and visualizes my data for me. So what we saw here, imagine thousands of customer calls streaming into your Airtable application, field agents getting to work every time a new call is recorded, pulling out trends, insights, objections, unmet needs out of those transcripts, and really turning them into actionable insights for your product team. And then on top of that, you can ask Omni really strategic questions, like what are the most requested features, or what are some blockers we're seeing in this market segment. This is one of the first use cases our product team at Airtable started really heavily deploying with Omni and with field agents, and it's just been hugely valuable in sourcing customers for beta opportunities and finding accounts and breakthrough product opportunities, including many of the use cases that you're actually seeing in this demo came from sourcing these insights directly through our own product.
OK.
This way.
I'm excited because we got to save one of my favorite ones for last. And this one goes out to all my design and production operations geeks that may or may not be here. But I am among you and thinking of you always. So let's look at a way more operational flow. Product teams, again, as many of you have experienced painstakingly, often work with supplier PDFs and spec sheets. And those things are packed with critical data. But they're also incredibly hard to search, compare, analyze. It makes for a miserable email inbox. But let's see how Airtable is going to take that static documentation and turn it into a living collaborative system that's got rich visuals and full traceability. OK, so we're going to use the data that's trapped in said static PDF that often looks like this. And we're developing prototypes for our next line of footwear. Our manufacturers just sent back hundreds of these documents. And they've got key specs and cost line items for every single product. So I asked Omni to build me an app to act as our source of truth for this product development process. I've also flipped it into dark mode to get cred with the design team. So Omni deeply understands my use cases and my industry and my business, so it's not just giving me something generic. Omni knows what tables and interfaces I need to manage for this workflow, so it's going to go ahead and generate those for me. And again, because this is all in Airtable, I still have my flexible builder tools to easily refine this app visually. So you can point and click, you can drag and drop really easily. There's still never any coding skills that are required, but you really have the flexibility, again, to go between conversational building and our quick builder tools. So in seconds, Omni's given me a fully functional app, and this is now our source of truth for product specs and material costs. OK, when I drop in my documents, Omni is deploying document analysis field agents. So they're pulling out the key facts, and we can perform analysis on the materials down to a line item level. So my agents get to work here. They're pulling out every data point straight from those PDFs into clean data sets in Airtable. So again, we've clipped out a process that can be so tedious and really error-prone with manual data entry. So field agents always cite their sources, so I can inspect their work, and I have confidence in their output because I can reference this. And my agents have gathered context from the web and our internal data, and they're flagging to me that our manufacturer might not be giving us a great deal on some of our materials. Okay, so this is the thing I'm extra excited about. Airtable is literally reaching new dimensions. So I've asked Omni to build a 3D viewer so we can visualize exactly where each material is being used, and now I can collaborate with designers on my team around any changes that are needed, and Omni gets to work. So in seconds, Omni has spun up a bespoke interface, and this is an environment that houses the 3D files that I've uploaded. It's got the relevant cost data, and now my team and I can inspect every material. We can go in and find margin, and we can iterate on our products from a single source of truth that's incredibly clear and dimensional. All right, so what did we see there? We saw that Omni created the core app structure, and then field agents parsed hundreds of PDFs, and they extracted material specs and costs for us. And then they flagged cost anomalies using external pricing data. Omni really helped the team work in the environment that the team needed, so it gave us a custom 3D viewer, and the team could visualize those products. They could see exactly where each material was used, and they could collaborate in one place. So again, we've got a full loop here. We've got data in, we've got insights out, and we have actions quickly enabled for the team. All right, that was a lot of demos, but let's recap everything that we looked at today. So Airtable has been redesigned with truly AI native UI. So you might have noticed that we've refreshed some details of core components. We're always raising the bar on your user experience. Omni is now the default way to build and interact with apps in Airtable. It handles everything from app generation to deep analysis. It can handle work from attachments, and it tailors outputs to your exact context. Field agents have arrived with new capabilities like web search, image generation, and analysis. So field agents can be created and deployed in minutes within any Airtable app. And then finally, we're so excited to have custom interfaces in alpha. Soon you're going to be able to build them straight in Omni, as we just saw in our last demo. One of the best parts of my and Anthony's job, though, is representing our incredible product team that makes these things possible. So we just want to take a moment to say how proud we are about all the work that they've done to make all of this and today possible. And I have an important parting thought for you. What Connie's calling out here, that's what really drives all of us as a product team. It's about creating solutions that adapt to your unique ways of working. So every feature that we've shown you today, we've got a promise in mind, and it's always about technology that fits your business and never the other way around. So I want to thank you so much for partnering with us on this journey. We're really excited to keep building for you. So thank you.
Thank you.